My name is Darryl Kwali, and our first story tonight, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is dissatisfied with plans by the chief executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, that is Yofi Grant, to review the GIPC Act without broader stakeholder consultations. According to GUTA, much effort has gone into developing the existing law guiding operations of businesses and investments in the country without any significant gain. The president of GUTA, Dr. Yao Pong, has rejected any such review by the GIPC, saying it would benefit foreign retailers. There's more in this report.
The chief executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, Yofi Grant, has indicated plans to present the reviewed law for cabinet approval by the first quarter of this year. According to him, the review, when approved, will be the new law to guide investment registrations in the country. However, in an interview with Joy Business, president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Yao Pong, disagrees vehemently, describing the decision as bad.
We haven't gotten any stakeholders meeting with anybody. If this thing have gone to Parliament or anywhere these revisions are done, I'll caution them not to treat it with any importance, because we haven't agreed upon anything. Because the Parliament should know that before these things works, all stakeholders' input might have been taken. If somebody says we've agreed upon anything like that, the person is not telling the truth. This is the reason why sometimes cabinet, government, and all that get these lashes from the citizenry, like the DVLA and all these things happened. So government should be careful with that institution. They should be really careful, because the stakeholders haven't started on anything. We haven't agreed on the revision, if there's any. If even he has gotten a draft, we haven't shared any information with us, because you know how sensitive this thing is.
He also cautioned government to ensure that the section of the Act which prohibits foreigners from trading in Ghana's retail market is enforced.
I will plead with the government to be very careful in dealing with this matter, because they know how it is dear to the trading community. All our business is being taken over by these foreigners, and it's not even happening in other countries. Even our neighboring Nigeria, you can't see these Chinese and other people there. So I don't know why we are trying to encourage these people.
The new law is expected to improve the business environment in the country.
Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture is embarking on a program to promote safe fishing practices on the Volta Lake. The program is expected to see some parts of the lake partitioned only for fishing activities in order to reduce cases of fish depletion in the country's water body. Here's more in this report.
In the wake of the depleting fish stock on the Volta Lake and across various aqua centers in the country, the Ministry for Fish and Aquaculture has come up with a zonation of the Volta Lake to streamline activities of fish farming in the country. Before the end of 2018, all fishing activities on the Volta Lake will be strictly regularized through a new zonation of the lake by the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. According to the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Francis Kingsley Atukujo, this exercise will identify the favorable areas for aquaculture on the Volta Lake and also help reduce the depleting fish stock in the country. He spoke to Joy Business at the sidelines of a final stakeholders workshop in Accra.
The zonation is mainly trying to map the Volta Lake to determine which areas can support aquaculture development. This is very important in a way to support the production of fish, or our fish volume in the country.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister makes the case for Ghanaians to venture into fish farming. According to him, the lucrative venture has potential of creating jobs among Ghana's teeming unemployed youth.
We want to encourage people who are already into poultry farming or other farming to think about mixed farming. You can add fish farming there. Seasons that you have issues with poultry, maybe the fishes will do well, and then you can get your money back. A lot of people consume tilapia and even catfish. Catfish has a lot of value and export value. If you go to Nigeria, they consume a lot of catfish. So that if we can get our people who have extra money, you don't need foreign direct investment. We're talking about you, people like you and I, who earn money. You can take a small loan and get Even, let me say that today you can do fish farming in your house.
The zonation will be reviewed every 2 years to complement the light changes on the lake and global climate changes. The ministry is also considering deeper partnership between government and Norway to seek assistance and capacity building for the program.
Turning focus to the banking sector, and Universal Metro Bank, UMB, is the latest to express its readiness to meet the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedis earlier than the stipulated deadline. Commercial banks, as you already may be aware, should by the end of this year meet the new level or lose their licenses to operate. At a New Year's soiree organized by UMB, Chief Executive of the bank, John Iwa, said his outfit was looking forward to obtaining support from shareholders in meeting the new level. Joy Business's Bismarck Awusa filed the following report.
The Bank of Ghana has maintained it is not turning back on its decision on the implementation of the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedis by end of this year. Universal Merchant Bank UMB says it is optimistic it will raise the said capital way before the December 2018 deadline. Chief Executive of UMB John Iwa tells Joy Business they are looking at raising funds internally with shareholders to meet the requirement.
And we sent our capital plans to the regulator, the Central Bank of Ghana, and I can assure you and your listening public and those watching us that at UMB we are very comfortable and we are quite certain that we are going to meet the new capital requirements way ahead of time. We have until December 31, 2018 to meet the new capital requirement, but I can say with all the confidence that we are going to meet that requirement a long way off in terms of meeting it long way before the deadline.
This means that the UMB could then join other local banks that have already met the capital requirement ahead of the deadline. Meanwhile, with regards to interest rates, the UMB boss tells Joy Business the rates will soon drop as a result of repricing that is currently ongoing.
I have seen between September of last year all the way to January 2018 that bank interest rates have started falling. But there is one thing that you all have to bear in mind, that there is no magic wand to moving interest rate from point A to point B. There are so many factors that come to play for interest rate to move in a certain direction. The translation effect or transmitting effect between when policy announcements are made and when you see it affecting the lending positions of bank is not a day and night kind of effect. It's an effect that is slow and takes quite a while. And it's not just in our country, even in the advanced world, it's not a day and night mechanism. We are contractually bound to respect the requirements or the covenants on those liabilities. So we cannot immediately reprice those liabilities. If I can't reprice those liabilities, how do I reprice my assets?
Still with the banking sector, and the Ghana Association of Bankers says it has begun working with the central bank on a new framework to guide lending rates in the country. A new formula is expected to form the basis for commercial banks operating in the country to adjust their lending rates on loans.
There are calls for more to be done to compel banks to reduce their lending rates. This follows the latest Bank of Ghana report, which showed interest rates went down by almost 2% to about 25.7% for last year, despite its significant reduction in all the indicators that influence cost of credit in the country. President of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Al-Hassan Andani, in an interview with Joy Business, revealed that the new formula being discussed would ensure a further drop in interest rates. According to him, Ghana has one of the biggest interest rates in the sub-region, a situation that has been described as a major factor to the cost of doing business in the country.
As the Ghana Bankers Association, you've seen the rates come down, though, but not as quick as what everybody would want. And it's still, I don't want to say it's still because of the overhang of a very large portion of non-performing loans within the industry. But I do believe that we're working with the central bank in terms of what we call the Ghana reference rate would be. And the parameters that they have put into the new Ghana reference rate should help to bring down the base rate. And also there will be modalities around how to moderate margins, and we should see a decline.
Alhassan Andani spoke with Joy Business after addressing a session on SME financing at this year's annual New Year's School and Conference in Accra. He blamed the lack of good record keeping on SMEs as a cause for banks to finance the sector.
The issue around SME finance is all about the relationship that they establish between the banks and the SME, that we have a very clear understanding of what the business of this SME is, and we provide the credit, and we are able to actually follow. The biggest gap with commercial banks is the lack of follow-up with the SME. So we give the loan and we expect maybe a well-established company monitoring their own activities to be able to kind of track and report. But with SMEs, they don't have those structures. So you need the commercial banks to be able to follow closely to ensure that. And that's why sometimes the non-bank financial services, they do better with SME financing, because they really are able on a daily basis to be around the shops where this SME operates, and therefore they're able to keep things closer to their chest. But that said, it's also, the opposite is also true, that once the banks facilitate SMEs, most of them just think that because it's formal credit, it is public sector and they don't have to pay it back. But I don't want to say that as a generality. If it's a good businessman starting on a small scale and has an eye on big things, you shouldn't run away from your bank. You should come closer so that your bank can help you to grow your business.
Some analysts are suggesting a cap in the lending rates in order to control the industry.
In other news tonight, the second vice chairman of the Ghana Hotels Association, Tom Emmanuel Kwenyefu, is lamenting the huge levies and expenditure of hotels in the country currently is gradually drawing the hospitality sector to a standstill. He singled out cost of power as a major cost component despite efforts by government to reduce electricity. Now, Dr. Kwenyefu was speaking with Joy Business ahead of the third Ghana Hotels Awards to be held on Saturday.
The hospitality sector of the tourism industry in Ghana has grown by leaps and bounds over the years. In all, about 1,300 hotels from all the regions currently belong to the Ghana Hotels Association. Despite the significant role it's been playing, it is still bedeviled with some serious challenges. The second vice president of the association, Tom Kwenyefu, says top on the list of problems hotels in the country are facing is still the cost of power, followed by the enormous levies charged by multiple authorities.
Obviously, power hasn't gone away yet. The problem is still there. We are still waiting to see how our bills will go this January. But all the same, we are grateful to the government for that, because that had been our major problem. And next to the electricity problem is the issue of taxes and levies. We have so many taxes and levies, it's unbelievable. If I want to count them now, we're talking about 20. Just to name a few, we have our regulating body, Ghana Tourism Authority, coming to attest. We have Food and Drugs Board. We have Environmental Protection Agency. We have the music agencies too, COSGA and others, and quite a few of them. And in fact, what is happening to the hotelier today is a situation of squeezing water out of stone. Because if I want to give you statistics, almost 30% of our cost goes to electricity. Secondly, another 25% goes to salary. Now, whatever is left, what do you use for maintenance and miscellaneous expenses?
The situation is compounded by the issue where many other hotels are operating illegally and not paying any taxes. He noted a number of hotels in the country have crashed out of business, while some existing high-class hotels are struggling to keep their heads above water.
The levies cannot be eradicated completely. But what we are saying is they are exorbitant. Most of them are, let me use the word, irrational, because when you do your calculations, you will find that at the end of the day, it is not worth it. We have had quite a few problems with some of the agencies, you know, who overdo it. And whenever it happens like that, that is why we have the association, so that on behalf of our members, we can, you know, fight for some of the reductions. What we do normally is at the beginning of every year, we negotiate with these our stakeholders, and sometimes we reach a good compromise. Sometimes it is difficult. But on the whole, they are too numerous because some of the activities overlap. For instance, Food and Drugs Board, they are doing the same thing like Ghana Tourism Authority is doing. Environmental Protection Agency also come in, and they are doing a duplicated thing like that.
Mr. Kwenyefu appealed to government to curtail the exorbitant levies imposed on hotel services and also unify all other taxes to prevent the cumbersome nature involved in payments.
We are saying unify it, bring it all together and let it be unified so that it is easier for us to approach. So, like I said, we are working on it. We are in touch with our agencies. The Hotel Association is in front, and we are fighting on behalf of our members and trying to make, you know, government to see that the situation is very dire, and that we need to sit down and bring out facts and figures. It is only then that they will realize that, hey, there is a problem, you know, because everybody is in business to make profits, and if it is not happening, then there is no point being in business.
The Ghana Hotels Awards comes off at the La Beach Hotel on the 20th of January 2018. It will reward many hotels which have distinguished themselves in quality service and complying with set service standards over the year.
Interesting developments in the aviation sector in the last few days, causing the aviation minister Cecilia Dapar to react. She's cautioning international carrier British Airways to step up its service delivery to Ghanaian passengers. This follows several complaints about the airline's poor in-flight services. In recent times, in an emergency meeting with management of British Airways, Madam Cecilia Dapar outlined a number of issues undermining passenger handling, including disparities in airfares. She says these need immediate attention.
In recent times, the aviation sector has been hit by a number of complaints from passengers about being treated unfairly due to a number of issues ranging from overbooking to luggage issues, among others. Now, a very much recent one was the one that surfaced on the Daily Mail news. Essentially, the cabin crew of British Airways walked off the aircraft after having cited that the craft was infested with bed bugs. Now, the craft was subsequently changed and the passengers were brought safely to Kotoka International Airport. However, this development did not sit well with Ghana's aviation ministry, and today the sector minister held an emergency meeting to address the issue. Essentially, she gave a stern warning to management of British Airways to make sure they address the issue and treat their passengers very, very properly here in Ghana.
The one that broke the camel's back was a bed bug infested flight that was being scheduled to fly to Kotoka International Airport with our cherished royals, meaning Ghanaians and other cherished passengers. Fortunately for all of us, their own staff walked off the plane because they noticed bed bugs crawling on all the seats. And that was a big shame to an international airline like British Airways. It should never have happened in the first place, and it should never happen again. So we have appealed to them to make sure all flights that are deemed to come to Ghana, Kotoka International Airport, are all fumigated. If we ever see one bed bug or any untoward whatever on their flights, we'll take a very drastic action. There are like cases that have been dealt with. We have the chart here. Like a passenger complaint about an issue. We'll go into details. They are not privy to that we have the list. That's why I'm being economical with the words that I'm churning out. But the one that really hit us was the treatment they gave to the Chief Justice. They later came to apologize. That is closed. We have a pending case, and we are going to go into all these things.
The minister further demanded clarity on other issues, including the disparities in prices of fares and luggage accommodation for Ghanaian passengers as against the Nigerian market.
Whilst Nigeria is paying like 900 pounds or so, we are paying about 1,300. We want to understand why we pay more than Nigerians. Number 3, luggage. Ghanaians are also complaining. Whilst they are being given more room, Ghanaians have been restricted. So we need an explanation to that. And number 4, the general treatment of our passengers. They keep on complaining. We demand respect and good treatment for our executive, judiciary, and every Ghanaian that travels on British Airways. Maybe I will add again that you are virtually pushing Ghanaians to the wall, and it shouldn't happen. I think we have given you room to operate freely in a democratic setting. We should have no problems with you. But the way things are going, if we don't come out, I think in local parlance, to wait, someone will use a knife to kill a python.
In reaction, the British Airways has issued a release on the bedbugs incidents. The airline says the development was unfortunate and has described this as extremely rare. It assures that it will be vigilant and continually monitor their flights to ensure passenger comfort is maintained.
We are moving on to our interview of the day, and the Ghana Food and Beverage Association has reiterated its call on government to withdraw the tax stamp policy. The policy will require manufacturers and importers to affix tax stamps to their products before they are released onto the market. But President of the association, Samuel Agri, says local manufacturers are just not prepared to embrace the policy.
Interview of the day.
Based on the interaction that you've had from various industry players, what do you think is the current position of this association on the tax stamp?
Well, it has become apparently very clear that industry is not ready for this project. We've given government alternate solutions as to how we can achieve the same revenue results that we want. We are not saying we are not going to contribute to the revenue. We are ready to pay. But the model through which they want to apply the tax stamp is a big challenge, and we are not ready. So it's a big challenge that government will have to listen, withdraw, let us do the right thing, and come back. We are in support. But if this is the way they are going to go without being inconsistent to the business community and then using intimidating process, then obviously we are going to fight back. And
so you feel you're being intimidated? You feel the government is using a very authoritarian approach?
Anytime we've spoken about this issue, businesses are being subjected to intimidation because when they started, instead of engaging the masses, they go individually.
Interview of the day.
And that's it for Business Live this week. My name is Daryl Kwao. We are back next week.